Hello, I'm Naomi Paxton and I'm delighted to be part of this British Academy virtual summer showcase. Welcome to my study. As you can see, I've got a lot of books and believe me, there's more. It goes up and out in both directions. I'm a theatre historian and academic, so that pretty much comes with the territory. For those of us who've been interacting online during this lockdown period, we've been given access to the personal work and living spaces of friends, colleagues, and strangers, looking past them to their bookshelves and living spaces. It's been quite intimate. For those of us who've been creating online content from home, the curation of those visible spaces has been fun to experiment with. For example, I'm not just a theatre historian and academic, I'm also a character comic, magician, and variety act. But is there anything on these bookshelves that would give that other life away? What about this duck? Hello there! There's always more to us than meets the eye. As I speak to you now in June 2020, we find ourselves thinking about how culture has been shared, created, and taught, and how we celebrate, memorialise, and critique cultural and historical icons, both locally, nationally, and internationally. We find ourselves in a period of learning and unlearning, of thinking about harm, legacy, gaps in our knowledge, and privilege. Our immediate worlds have shrunk, but what we're experiencing is global. My research looks at the contribution of theatre professionals to the suffrage movement, the Votes for Women movement in the UK, and one organisation in particular, the Actresses Franchise League, which was founded in 1908. The Actresses Franchise League facilitated the participation of a wide range of theatre makers and performers, and membership was open to any woman who was or had been in the theatrical professions, including dancers, musicians, and variety performers, as well as backstage staff. By 1914, the Actresses Franchise League had nearly 1,000 female members from the UK, Europe, Russia, Australia, and America. It had also established an affiliated men's group and gained the support of over 100 influential patrons outside of the theatre industry. For ambitious and politically aware performers, the Actresses Franchise League and its sister society, the Women Writers' Suffrage League, provided the chance to form close working alliances and friendships, develop influential industry networks, and be part of the production of new, female-led, feminist and suffragist writing for the stage. Suffrage theatre, entertainments and performances were predominantly produced in the UK between 1907 and 1917, and the range of performative propaganda is enormous. It's just a joy to research. It includes one-act comedies, four-act melodramas, modern dance, ballet, folk dance, music hall sketches, puppetry, magic, embodied activist gestures, site-specific performances, immersive role-playing environments, verbatim-style pieces, and silent films. The Actresses Franchise League made one in 1911. They were performed in all sorts of venues, not only traditional theatre spaces, but also restaurants, roller skating rinks, open-air spaces, public halls, fairs, fetes, and bazaars. I first discovered the Actresses Franchise League in 2007. I was working as a professional actress in a West End play and found a book of suffrage plays in a second-hand bookshop. The wit, humour and energy of the words just leapt off the page and I was instantly captivated. I started doing readings with friends in my dressing room and in the green room and devouring as much as I could find about the suffrage movement, suffrage theatre, suffrage plays and the Edwardian theatre more generally. A couple of years later, I found myself on tour across the UK, mostly doing one-nighters, and thinking about the lived experience of Edwardian touring professionals and suffrage speakers. So much, I suppose, hadn't really changed. Travelling all day to get to a town or city, finding the venue and setting up, somehow sourcing an early supper, then getting into the dressing room, into the wings, and then onto the stage to do the show. Afterwards, if you couldn't get home, finding digs or a hotel, sleeping in an unfamiliar bed, and then getting up the next day to do the whole thing again. The basics, I supposed, hadn't really changed. But what really struck me was that a lot of what Edwardian suffragists were campaigning for within the theatre industry also hadn't really changed. This included equal pay, equal access to employment opportunities, an end to sexual harassment in the casting process, more diverse and representative casting, and the centering of women's voices and stories on stage. This theatrical legacy was powerful, and I hadn't known anything about it. One of the first suffrage plays I read was A Pageant of Great Women by Cicely Hamilton, first produced in 1909. Hamilton was an actress, journalist and playwright, part of the Actresses Franchise League and the Women Writers' Suffrage League. She wrote some of the most popular suffrage plays. A Pageant of Great Women opens with justice on stage. Woman enters, followed by prejudice. Woman pleads to justice for her freedom, but prejudice challenges her. Why is she worthy of it? What has she done to earn and deserve it? In response, woman calls on the great women of the past, from antiquity to the present day and from around the world, to prove her point that she is worthy of her freedom. The great women are introduced one by one in thematic groups. Firstly, the learned women, then the artists, the saintly women, the heroic women, the rulers and the warriors, women from Russia, China, India and across Europe as well as the UK. This piece was probably the most widely performed suffrage play. 3 professionals would take the roles of justice, woman and prejudice, and the roles of the great women would be played by local suffrage activists and members of local suffrage societies wherever it was staged. Local great women were often also added into the performance, and it's the fluidity and participatory nature of this piece that for me is its greatest strength. As more and more histories are told and more people gather on stage, there's 50 as a minimum in the original script, a visual representation appears in which those involved are both audience members and performers simultaneously. Over the past few years, the play has been used as a template for marginalised groups and communities to look back, research and celebrate their own histories. There's something really powerful in its simplicity as a format and its pragmatic and unapologetic approach to bringing forgotten histories to the fore. At the end of the play, prejudice, faced with a stage full of undeniable female achievement, has run out of arguments to make and slinks away. Justice gives woman her freedom, and woman closes the play with a speech to man, a speech that reaches out to him as a human being of equal value, intellect and potential. Now on these bookshelves behind me, I'm lucky enough to have a copy of A Pageant of Great Women from 1909, first published by the Suffrage Shop. And I'd like to bring our time together to a close by reading that final speech from the play that woman makes to man. I have no quarrel with you, but I stand for the clear right to hold my life my own, the clean, clear right to do with it as I will, not as you will, with or apart from you, to make of it a thing of brain and blood, of tangible substance and of turbulent thought, no thin grey shadow of the life of man. Your love, perchance, may set a crown on it, but I may crown myself in other ways, as you have done who are one flesh with me. I have no quarrel with you, but henceforth this you must know. The world is mine, as yours, the pulsing strength and passion and heart of it. The work I set my hand to, woman's work, because I set my hand to it. Henceforth for my own deeds am answerable to my own soul. For this, in days to come, you too shall thank me. Now you laugh, but I laugh too. A laughter without bitterness, feeling the riot and rush of crowding hopes, dreams, longings and vehement powers, and knowing this, 'tis good to be alive when morning dawns.